Hello everyone and welcome back to Destiny. It is week 4 of Age of Triumph, and this week we have the 4th featured raid, Wrath of the Machine. Now, outside of all of the elemental primary hype, we do have a bunch of weekly activities, some of which I'm working on in order to finish that pesky record book. Actually, I have to say it's not really that pesky. I'm really enjoying working my way through it. So in this video, we'll take a look at the weekly rituals, the weapons available from the tower vendors, and some things you might want to keep your eye on. Let's get into it. Starting with the featured Crucible playlist, this week we have the return of doubles. This is one of my favorite Crucible game modes, and every time I see it, I'm reminded of Crimson doubles, which I really missed from this year. I was really hoping we would at least get it in private matches, but what are you gonna do? Anyways, the Crucible bounties from this week are for Clash and Rift. Rift is a game that I'm not too fond of, but I know I have to play it a lot more because of the record book, so we might as well play it now. Moving on to the weekly story playlist, this week we have the Taken War, and the modifiers are Specialist and Chaff. These are of course the story missions from the Taken King, and this is where you can obtain up to 100 marks. Next up we have the SIVA Crisis Heroic playlist, and this week we have the modifiers of Specialist, Juggler, and Airborne. Time to break out those icebreakers. Next up we have the weekly Nightfall Strike, and this week we have the Shield Brothers, and the modifiers are Voidburn, Brawler, Grounded, and Ironclad. Defender Titans are definitely going to have a lot of fun here. And I'll be taking my brand new Steel Medulla Adept into here to test it out. Next up we have Challenge of the Elders with Precision Kill bonus, and the modifiers are Airborne and Berserk, but of course I'm not too fond of that, so we'll just move on to the weekly featured raid, which of course this week is Wrath of the Machine. This of course means we have both the Vosic and the Axis Challenge available to complete, and doing so will grant you one of the elemental exotic primaries. I put together an updated raid guide on Wrath of the Machine, so if you want to learn how to complete those challenges, click the link in the description. And also, in case you missed that video, we do have a fun poll going on over there to see which of the raids is your favorite. Moving on to the selections from the tower vendors, sadly there isn't anything too exciting, but we do have the Unto Dust 00, which has some pretty interesting perks. We have Field Scout, Heavy Payload and Tripod, and then Cluster Bombs. Now the real interesting thing that we're finding out is that a rocket launcher with cluster bombs might actually be higher DPS against Axis than the Dark Drinker. But is this true really? Well, it's only really true if your rocket launcher has a almost max blast radius like the Warpath. Last week, the Warpath had the same perks as the Unto Dust does this week, which includes Extended Mag, Tripod, and Cluster Bombs. But even then, its max DPS is only better than Dark Drinker if you have the chest piece that gives you more heavy ammo and legs that give you more rocket launcher ammo, meaning that you can have up to 8 rockets. If you can achieve this, then yes, it will have more DPS than the Dark Drinker, and the reason is because with Cluster Bombs, you can actually hit multiple legs at one time, just like you can with the Dark Drinker. You also have the added advantage of not having to make your way up to Axis to start doing damage. That means you can stay put and do damage from far away, as long as there's a Weapons of Light bubble that you can take advantage of that's not already being used on everyone else that's using your Dark Drinker. So for the most part, I recommend just sticking with Dark Drinker, and if you really need this rocket launcher to do enough damage, then there's something else going wrong with the team's setup. Anyways, moving on to the only weapon that I found kind of okay in the tower, and no, it wasn't a Palindrome. I don't really think that weapon had good perks this week. It's a good all-around weapon, but I didn't really like the perks on it. The only weapon that I really liked was the Bone Crusher. It's got a choice between Feeding Frenzy and Spray and Play, Braced Frame and Rifled Barrel, and Counterbalance. Pretty good perks for a machine gun, and if you're looking for something void to take into this week's Nightfall, I would recommend this weapon. Anyways, that brings us to the end of the video. Other than that, I do want to remind you that I did extend my shirt campaign for another couple days at the request of some who wanted more time to get it. So if you'd like to pick up a shirt and support the channel, I'll leave a link to it in the description. Otherwise, drop a like if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe for more Destiny content. And I will see you all next time. First off, you may have noticed that your Wrath armor set has been quietly updated to now feature a second ornament slot for the new ornaments. Secondly, we have a new shader called Weldfire, which has a chance of dropping upon defeating Axis. Although I'm not too happy with the frequency of the drop rate for these new shaders, I still have yet to get any of them.